Alright guys, we're back here at this setup. I'm trying something new. I tried using the webcam once before to do some of the other Jeremy Crawford commentary videos, but that wasn't particularly crisp, and this is a digital SLR camera, so it should be pretty good. But it has an onboard mic, so I'm trying my stick mic that I use for interviews. It is kind of invasive and in your face, but hey, it's orange and it's branded, so I figured what the hell. Let me know what you guys think about this setup versus me just, vamping at my computer, where you guys get to see how messy my room is behind me. Instead, you can see all these unpainted minis that I should work on. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today was level 1 and feats at level 1. So I posted this on social media, and I actually recorded a whole other video on this where I went through and read everybody's comments. And while that sounds fun, I thought I could really boil it down instead to something a little more crisp and concise, and then we could talk about it. So in recent campaigns and things like that, I started off balancing for players when they only had 3 players in a party to give them a feat at first level to kind of balance things out, make them a little stronger, so I could throw the enemies that are designed, everything's balanced on their challenge rating is 4 creatures. So I said, let's try that. And then I ended up having a 4th player join. I said, well, I already let them build a character with a feat at first level, so you take it too. And that was sort of just like a one-off. And the more I thought about it, the more I really liked the idea. I also have come to terms with the fact that I personally, and again, I will say up front, this may not be for everybody, and don't take this as gospel or a thing you should do, but I would like to say think about it if you're going to be running a new campaign. I personally like higher-powered characters. I think it's more fun. You can throw more things at them. You can vary up the combat. It's not just a bunch of goblins and kobolds. You can throw in other things, and that's cool. It also lets the players... Everybody likes to be OP. Everybody likes to have crazy power for their character. Yes, there's something to say about negative stats, and I don't deny that. And I know that people like to play up a negative stat. But in my mind, if you want to roleplay a character one way, roleplay a character that way, and it doesn't matter what your stats are. Separate the roleplay from the ability scores. That's a topic for another video. But I like the idea of giving players feats at first level. And when I posted this on social media, there was a pretty big resounding, positive backing for that. A lot of people are telling me, yes, I love that idea. Thank you for suggesting it. Or I'm already doing this because this is now just an adapted homebrew rule or home rule at my house that I play with every time. And I really like the concept of a feat at first level because I think it lets you do some unique things. Obviously, there's going to be people who, and I would be lying if I said it wasn't me at times, who min-max a character. I'll be like, sweet, now I can get that extra feat that gives me another pump up to an ability score, so I could potentially have +3 in an ability score at level 1 and get my character maybe to 20 in a stat at level 1, or whatever the case may be. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's the way you want to go about it. But what I like about it is I feel like sometimes it forces you to take... It doesn't force you, but it allows you to take things that you wouldn't normally take, feats you wouldn't normally take, because it's a freebie. Right? If you build your entire character one way, and I don't tell you this, and then all of a sudden you show up to the table and I say, hey, by the way, you get a feat at first level. Now you may try to rebuild your entire character based around that, and that's fine. Or you may be like, cool, I really think this would be a neat thing to take. Let me take Magic Initiate or Ritual Caster or something like that. Make your character more unique and give them a cool backstory-related thing about why they know all this magic. I think it's great that it allows a dual wielder to dual wield from level 1, and you don't have to be a variant human. Because honestly, variant human is one of the only ways you can be a true dual wielder with something bigger than light weapons at level 1. This lets you do that. So you could be your elf dual wielder, your dwarf dual wielder that lets you do that. And that's a cool thing as well. You can do certain things I feel that are more static, like a resilient feat or an observant feat. Yes, they have, observant has other abilities to it, but I feel like it's largely a static, just bump up to a number, which is good for your character on paper. And again, that's nothing wrong with that, but it's less interesting from a roleplay mechanic, or a cool, building your character out backstory wise. So when I asked this question on social media, like I said, I got a lot of feedback about everybody likes this idea. They think it's really good idea for balancing characters and things like that. But it kind of came down to 3 different schools. School 1 is let the players pick the feat. Players get what they want. You tell them you're getting a feat at first level. Go forth and build your character. And there was a lot of people that had thoughts on that and were on board with that. Other people thought no. And that's what I did, so I can't really, I'm a hypocrite if I say it's a bad idea. School number 2 was don't let the players pick. Let them come to you with their backstory and tell you and describe their character in depth. And based on what they tell you, then you assign them a feat at first level based on that. The problem with that to a degree, though, is obviously this could be gamed, right? You could talk about how your character is never surprised and they're always keen and alert on things and stuff like that. And then, based on that, it kind of means I feel like I should give you alert. Or you talk about how your character is ambidextrous and they're really good at using things in one hand versus the other. It's almost as though they can easily wield things dually, I guess. You get what I'm saying, though. You could write your backstory in such a way to sort of pick the feat. So at that point, I wonder if it's almost like better not to tell your players, just like, hey, give me your really good backstory, and then don't tell them you're going to assign them a feat, and then they tell you it, and you say, oh, by the way, I really liked your backstory. Consider yourself to have this feat, the athlete feat, or the charger feat, or whatever, because you described such a thing in your backstory, and I like that. So that has sort of a weird kind of dichotomy to it, right? The players could game it, or if they're just like, this is the story I want to build, you tell me what feat I should get, and then you go with that. And the third school, which was, I'd say, probably in the minority, was let the players pick, but don't let them choose one that gives an ability score improvement. And the thought process, I think, behind that was what we sort of talked about, where if you choose one that gives you an ability score improvement, with your already existing ability scores, you could potentially get +3 to a stat, and that's a lot, right? I mean, it's not unheard of to get a 17 in a stat. It's not super likely, but it's possible if you're rolling. And then that could put you at 20 right out the gate. So that's a reasoning why. And I think the thought process that I heard behind it too was like it's more the other ones are more balanced, meaning things, but like sharpshooter, and I would argue that things like sharpshooter, great weapon master, dual wielder, or polearm master are all way better and way more OP, if you will, than a feat like actor, right, which gives you a +1 charisma. I also feel like this would be a time that, if you're doing it just for the stats, a feat like actor would see more play in this because it gives you a +1 charisma than some of the other feats would, because people probably wouldn't take it because they're like, I don't really want it, but I do want a 19 or a 20 starting charisma, so I'll take the actor feat, and in doing so, get my boosts up, and like, oh, cool, I can mimic people. So that one was, basically to just remove the idea was to remove the min-maxing of the character from the extra feat choice by not having ability score attached to it, so that you choose something more, more character-driven. And I really like feats in 5th edition because they were designed from the design standpoint to be more about, they're more impactful rather than just having something that gives you a +2 to a skill check like they were back in 3.5, or you could get one that gives you a +2 to like listen and ride. Those are gone in the way of something more substantial like Great Weapon Master or Ritual Caster or things like that. Magic Initiate, Spell Sniper. And the thought process was, if you choose to forego an ability score improvement, you're choosing to take something instead of that, which is a pretty solid number you'll have for your character, and that this should fundamentally change the way you play that character going forward, helping to build them a unique identity. And I think that a lot of the feats do that. Not all of them do, but most of them. And I think giving your character a feat at first level allows you to really do that and branch out. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think it totally destroys the balance of the game, which I have heard from people? Or do you think a feat at first level is cool and unique? And if so, which camp do you fall into? Do you fall into the let the players choose whatever they want? let the players come to you with a backstory related idea and then you choose the feat as the dungeon master, or let the players choose but ignore ability score related feats. I feel like a lot of you are going to come to me and say, just because the nature of the way we are in 5th edition, a lot of people are more roleplay driven and into the roleplay, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a pretty great thing. But I feel like that's because of a lot of popular D&D shows that are out there. People are heavily driven to the idea of story. Again, that's great. So I'm assuming a lot of people are going to say, I want to go with the idea where the DM chooses the feat for the player based on what they tell them in their backstory. That's where my gut tells me we're going to land on this, but I am very curious where you guys think, or what you guys think. Or perhaps you have some other 4th camp idea or beyond for how you get a feat at 1st level, but you're going to explain it to me as to it doesn't fall into one of those 3 categories, it's this. And I'm also very curious for that. Again, I didn't really touch on the breaks the game mechanic, but there were some people who flat out said, like, absolutely not, this is a horrible idea, it totally destroys the balance of the game, and I think that's absolute bullshit, if I'm being honest. So, again, please let me know what your thoughts are, or what other kind of unique things you've done, or maybe it's not even feat related, maybe you have another cool, unique thing you do to let characters really branch out, maybe get a little bit more power, but have something cool or unique that defines who they are at level 1. I'm always looking for new tips, and I'm always learning as a dungeon master, so if you have something else, I'd love to hear it. So please leave it in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.